So it's probably brought to your attention that you have no idea about this thing that is so important to your body as a woman, and that is your cycle. Now, women are awakening. We are realizing that we didn't fully probably get educated the way that we should have about our periods. We don't really know how to take care of ourselves. We're realizing that birth control is not necessarily the best thing for us. We are realizing that there's a lot of hormonal disruptions within our food, in our products, in our everything, and we're trying to change. We are trying to shift, and we are trying to learn how to do things a different way. But the thing is, when you go on any sort of awakening, you awaken to all of the things that you did not know. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of information. And I have made 2 videos, or maybe 3, but we'll talk about the one. I've made a really popular video on cycle syncing, and I went through all the phases and everything, which I will have linked down below, and you can go watch that if you really want an in-depth video. But I want this video to be for the ones who might be feeling like they can't do cycle syncing. They don't understand it still. There's information overload. You live a very busy life. And for me personally, even when I wasn't a content creator and didn't have all this time freedom to really live in flow and really cycle sync and take care of myself, I was still able to do a lot of things because of the tips that I'm going to give you. And if you're new here, my name is Alicia Gogan. I am a women's wellness mental health creator. We talk about glowing up on this channel and my podcast channel, the Glow Up Secrets podcast, or you can find it on Apple or Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe for new videos every single week. This shirt is going to be linked on my Like to Know because I know some of you guys are going to ask me, and I'm drinking some water because we need to hydrate. So this is the thing that you need to understand when it comes to diving into the world of cycle syncing. This is not just gonna be something that you learn one time and then you get so good at. Understand this. We are awakening to the fact that we do not know our bodies. We might have even been taking care of our bodies very poorly. So this requires us to rebuild a relationship with ourselves. And when you rebuild a relationship with yourself, when you haven't known yourself, when you haven't known your body, or you've been disconnected from yourself, it is going to be a journey. And I think that the rise of us trying to learn more about hormonal health and cycle syncing, feminine energy, all of this stuff, it's fun, it's exciting, and we want to learn all of it, but this is not going to be a quick journey, and that is okay. And this is why I say that. Think about all of the years that you haven't known about your body, or let's say if we're talking even about health and wellness, all the years that you weren't taking care of yourself, or all the mental health issues you might have been going through and you're trying to heal from now. It takes some time for you to rebuild that relationship with yourself. The same thing is gonna go with you learning more about your period and being a woman and embracing this new era. Now, before we get into some really good tips that I think will help you kind of stay focused and not feel overwhelmed, I wanna say thank you to today's sponsor of the video, which is BetterHelp. And bringing it back to my point about how when you realize that your life is not the way that you want, when you go on this journey of awakening and wanting to change, sometimes you need a little bit more help. Sometimes you need a little bit more guidance. And when it comes to my mental health, that is what I have done throughout my years. And this is why I think going to therapy is important beyond just sometimes just going to your friends to vent or your family members to get the answers, is because sometimes people don't have the capacity to be able to hold space for you in that moment. Maybe they're going through something, or maybe people have certain beliefs or biases about things. And I really think that the person that I have become today is me, is my own thoughts and my own feelings. And I have gone for exactly what I wanted in my life. And I've done that by not always letting everyone else's opinions affect the way that I go in my life. And I think that going to therapy sometimes can be very helpful in that matter, because getting more of that unbiased opinion, you're getting support, you're being able to think for yourself. And if y'all don't know, BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and accessible to those who might not be able to get therapy around their area. Maybe you have a busy schedule, or maybe you're just in your finance era and you're just making sure that things are affordable for you. With their platform, it makes it very easy for you to find a therapist. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire, and then they will match you with a therapist. And also, if you don't vibe with your therapist, you can change your therapist. So if you'd like to get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp, then you can click the link in my description, which is betterhelp.com/Alicia, ELICIA. That's gonna help help out the channel, but it also can help you try and see, is therapy for you? Therapy is not just for people who also have clinical depression or anxiety. It's literally any of us, all of us. We're all going through something. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's video. And if you want 10% off your first month, link will be in the description, betterhelp.com/Alicia. So I asked you guys on my Instagram different questions that you had regarding cycle syncing. A lot of you guys wanted me to break down the phases and like give details. I think a lot of you guys didn't know I had other cycle syncing videos already, which again, I'm going to link down below, but I'm going to do a quick run through, a quick little mini guide before I give you like my best tips and advice. So if you don't know, we as women run off of an infradian rhythm. We have a circadian rhythm, which is what men run off of, which is what humans run off of. When the sun rises, that's when we naturally, cortisol starts to come out of our body. Not come out, that is such a weird word. Why do I say it like that? Our hormones, whatever, okay, whatever. We start to secrete, that is really the word, and it still sounds not the best. Cortisol, and we wake up and we're ready to go, and then we do our work, we socialize, we see our family, and typically as the sun starts to set, we're getting more tired and we're ready to go to sleep. Now, this is not to mean that we still don't run off of that rhythm. We do, but also women, we have hormones and they all contribute to our periods. And so when I'm saying period, I'm saying the period that you know, which is when you bleed, so the 5 to 7 days. That is called our menstrual phase, but we have 3 other phases that we go through and we fluctuate through every single month, and then we bleed, and then we go back through each phase. This is important for us to know because our bodies require certain habits, certain behaviors, certain nutrients through different phases. And what we can do as women and really take care of ourselves is to understand our bodies more through which phase that we are in, and learning ways that we can eat better and move our bodies better and speak to ourselves kindly, things of that nature. I would suggest you get the book In the Flow, and I will have it linked on my Amazon shop. That is gonna be your like guide for everything. But again, also I did talk about all of the phases in my other videos. But essentially after you bleed, you're going more into your spring season, your follicular season. And this is where, you know, your hormones are starting to rise again. You're gonna get more energy. You know how you feel after you're done your period, like you feel kind of better. And then you go through an ovulation phase as well, which is usually when your hormones are kind of at the peak and you're ready, you can go like socialize, you got lots of energy, things like that. And then you're gonna move into your luteal phase, which is the longest phase, which is usually a span around 2 weeks. The first week you might feel like normal, whatever, and then that last week is when you're kind of experiencing those PMS symptoms. You know your period is about to come, and then that's when you bleed. Now, us as women, we are all so different. So to put a certain amount of days on it, to like just try and guess what phase you're in, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not going to be able to do it. And so when people want to start to cycle sync, I say the first thing that you have to do is you need to start to track your period. Now, before we talk about getting to know your body, I want to say one thing. If you're on hormonal birth control, you're taking your body's natural ability to go through these phases away. I would highly suggest you go and watch the documentary, Business of Birth Control. They have it on Amazon Prime, or you could go to their Instagram. They usually stream it for free throughout the year. You can go watch that. I'm not trying to like push, I'm not like anti whatever. I do not take birth control. I think it's absolutely horrible, but I understand that people have to take it at certain points in their life to kind of like whatever. And even if you're just trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with your hormones and stuff, I get it. Like, I'm not trying to like bag on you, but I do think it's so important that you understand the business of birth control, honestly. And I watched that documentary even after, way long after I was off birth control, when I realized like this is not something that just makes sense for my body. Like I don't want to be taking something that's so natural away from my body. But I think that it's important that you still learn about cycle syncing, also ways that you can start to move your body and eat better, and kind of just learn about hormones as you're, you know, on this journey of being on birth control, or even if you're not. Now, a lot of people struggle with being able to even cycle sync because they're very irregular. They have PCOS, they have endometriosis, they have all of these things. Listen, I am absolutely not a doctor. I would highly suggest, again, getting that book because she does talk about a lot of those issues in that book. But this is what I think. if you have something that is not necessarily functioning in your eyes the way it probably should, and this is not to mean that every woman's cycle is perfect. Like there's shorter cycles, there's longer, whatever. But I do think for the most part, we can absolutely take steps to get way better and like have a healthier cycle. I've seen it in myself. But if there's something that's going on with your body and you have a health issue, and this can even be beyond hormonal issues, it is time for you to go deeper, to research, to look into your habits, your mental health, your physical health, your environment. What is going on that is affecting your health? And I can guarantee you, it's probably a lot of things. And I'm trying to say this lightly because I understand when it comes to women's health issues, people will get really defensive and be like, I have tried everything and it's not my fault, and I'm not even saying it's your fault. I've also had a lot of hormonal issues, also a lot of autoimmune issues. So I'm not like, I'm not this like holier than now, like super healthy girl. I went through it. I had a hyperactive thyroid. I had to get on medication for that, and it really messed up my hormones. It messed up my weight. It messed up the way that I viewed myself. I had IBD. When I got off of birth control, I still had to learn my body again. I had really, really bad skin breakouts. I had a lot of adrenal fatigue. I was so fatigued and so tired and so depleted when I was in college. And there were for so many reasons. It was because my mental health, I was stressed all the time. I was in a very unhealthy environment. I was living in fight or flight for the longest time in my life. I was very, very hard on myself. I had an unhealthy relationship with food, the way that I viewed myself. I didn't sleep right. I was not eating right because I had an unhealthy relationship with food. I would overthink about everything. I would drink on the weekends. I wouldn't move my body. I wouldn't just get up and go for walks. I would barely even be able to go to the gym. Like, those were all of these things that really affected my cycle, my skin, my weight, the way that I thought about myself. So it's so important that you start to take a look at certain aspects and areas of your life where maybe you can give yourself a little bit more nurturing. Is it your mental health that you're struggling with? Okay, well, maybe you're going to sign up for BetterHelp. Are you not moving your body? Well, maybe you need to think about what type of workouts you're trying to even tell yourself to do that you clearly aren't able to do. Maybe you're struggling with yo-yo dieting. Well, maybe it's time for you to learn how to unconditionally love yourself and accept yourself on this journey of changing, instead of hating yourself through change, through fad diets, through quick fixes. And I'm not saying that everyone does that when they're trying to get healthy, but that's something that I absolutely did, and it never freaking worked until I was like, no, I need to identify as somebody who just like eats well and just moves her body, and it's just a good thing to do. And the reason why I'm really saying this again is because it made cycle syncing and moving with my cycle so much easier, because from the baseline, I was quite healthy. I worked on my mental health. I had pretty decent habits. And I think sometimes when we're talking about cycle syncing or working on your hormones, that's kind of like a higher level, harder thing to work on when your base level is not necessarily like a solid foundation. And what I mean by that is like, are you just moving your body right? Are you sleeping? Are you drinking enough water? And then, okay, if we are, then we can really start to hone in on, you know, okay, what nutrients, what types of movement, what types of healthier, non-toxic products that I use for my body as I'm going through supporting my cycle. So once you kind of work on your baseline, mental health, moving your body, just getting back into like a decent place in your life, the number one thing is to track your period. Now, you can use any app online. I know there's so much talk about like data breaching and this, that. I was using the MyFlow app, but now I'm using the app in the Flow, I believe. Either way, I'm gonna link it down below. The only reason why I switched apps is because the old app, they did a whole rebrand, and then I just didn't like the layout of it. So now I use this one, but I think you have to pay for it, but you can find one that's like for free, and start to track your symptoms. So this is what I would say too. If you're very, very irregular and you literally don't know your body, like, and it's just like all over the place, I do think that it's important for you to start tracking like every day your certain symptoms, like, and it will ask you on these apps too. So it's like not like you don't know what to do. Like, do you have headaches? Have you had cramps? Like, what was your mood like? What was your discharge like? They'll ask you things like that. Like, it's important for you to know these things. What about your skin? What about your mood? Like all that, I think I already said mood, but things like that is super, super important. And then of course, actually tracking when you bleed and when you stop, and how light or heavy, medium your blood is. What does it look like? All of these things are so, so, so important for you to know as a woman. And again, this is gonna take some time. This is gonna take a journey. Not every single period I have is the exact same, but the more times I track, the more times I get to know myself and I trust and I'm feeling safe within my body and I feel like, you know, I have this, like I'm good. And so if you're a busy girl, if you don't have a lot of time, if you just feel like it's just too much, then honestly, just start tracking your period so at least you know you're a little bit more in sync. It's small little habits. Now, this is also really important, especially for busy girls or people in school or just people who just clearly do not have enough time to like sit here and like learn about every phase and what freaking nutrients eat and all this kind of stuff. Pick one goal or one focus that you want to implement or like focus on every single month on your period. So ideally, do we want to be able to just support ourselves through each meal, every phase? Yes, but are we gonna be able to do that? No. Do you know how hard that is? I can't even do that. And I don't even need to do that, honestly. And this is why it's first important for you to track your body and to know like where you're at, because I find the phases that my body really needs help with is my menstrual phase and my luteal phase. I make sure on those two phases, I'm really making a plan of how I'm gonna be moving my body, how I'm gonna be eating, the way that I'm gonna be productive around that time, because I really feel it. During my follicular phase and my ovulatory phase, I'm good. Like I have enough energy, I'm pretty good. Like I'm not really stressed about like cycle syncing and doing all this stuff. But like I was saying, we sometimes wanna like find all the meals or let's say we went into the holistic health wellness freaking side of Instagram. Everyone's telling you different products to use. So like Nixit cups now, or Nix underwear now, or like non-toxic tampons, or taking magnesium, or whatever, like all of these amazing things that can help support your period. But realistically, you don't need to do every single thing and implement it all, and you don't need to. So I would say, like, after you kind of know your body and you've been tracking your body, okay, well, what is one thing that I want to do this month for my cycle? Well, this month I want to start incorporating more magnesium for my cramps, because my cramps are really bad. So I'm going to try that out. I'm going to get a supplement and I'm going to start supplementing with magnesium this month. I'm not going to worry about changing my tampons into like non-toxic. Maybe I don't have the money for that right now. I'm not going to start using a Diva cup right now because I'm working like 2 jobs and it's a lot, which literally when I was serving, I was like, I really want to use a Diva cup, but I can't right now because I can't learn it. I am so freaking busy. I can't do that. So I tried to focus on something else. And the thing is, this is why I say this. You build habits by doing small little things that you can sustain over time. So if you just have one little focus, like changing your tampons into like non-toxic ones every single month from that time that you've set that goal, you're gonna now have non-toxic tampons, and now you don't really have to think about it. It's like a normal thing, and that's doing something really good for your body now. Okay, now I feel like I can think about, okay, taking magnesium now because of my cramps, or maybe this month I really want to focus on making one super iron rich meal while I'm bleeding, because I really believe that I have low iron, or you gotten your iron tested. I mean, you have low iron if you're on your freaking period, okay? So maybe this month you're learning how to make a new meal, and then it becomes kind of like a ritual or a tradition for you to do every single month. Or the more that you simply start tracking your period and you get kind of more clear on when you start getting your period, and you can focus more on productivity, knowing, okay, I think most likely I'm getting my period around this time, so I'm gonna start to not only dial into how I'm feeling and really being aware of my energy dips, if any, because sometimes people don't get that, and then I'm gonna start moving around things in my schedule to allow me to rest through my period, because maybe that's what you need. For me, I absolutely need that. For other people, they're honestly good. Like they just don't like need to rest a lot. Or sometimes you just can't. Why? Because you have jobs, and that's totally fine. Maybe it's one day out of your week of your period that you're gonna be able to like change something around in your schedule and not be so hard on yourself, instead of the full 5 days. If you can't do the full 5 days and like really rest, then okay, don't. And honestly, like who does? I don't even do that. Now, another thing that you were saying in my DMs was, I've been trying cycle syncing and it's just like, it's not working, or like, you know, you have irregular periods, you're just like unhealthy, whatever, things are not working. Okay, this is something that we all need to hear, and I need to hear it as well. It takes time. Do you know, I think it took me about 6 to 8 months after I decided to get off of birth control years and years and years ago, for my hormones to fluctuate and to come back into balance, for me to have like a regular cycle, okay? And so For you to like incorporate one thing, let's say you're getting off birth control or whatever, you're not on birth control, but you're like, you really want to work on your cramps because they're absolutely so bad, or your periods are really, really heavy, and you really want to work on that and you really want them to get better. Understand that all of your habits, the things that you eat, the things that you think, the things that you do leading up to every single period, month over month over month, will affect your cycle. Okay, so your body is listening. So for you to give up on 1 month, well, guess what? Your body's trying to catch up on years and years of you stressing out your adrenals, not listening to your body, not resting, not X, Y, and Z. So if you don't see results right away, do not give up. Don't go back to, screw it. Like, I don't even care. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. Understand this is you rebuilding a new relationship with yourself, and it's going to take time. I expect it to take many more years for me to really, really get at a place where I'm just like, I look at my period like it's like the really, really healthy in a way. And like, we don't even need to put like healthy, not healthy, like whatever, it's a journey. But I'm just like, I'm not kind of stressed about it. I'll even say this, last week I got my period, I think 2 or 3 days earlier, which never happens, and I got the worst cramps to the point where I actually threw up, and I have never had that happen, only one time before last summer. And I know it was because I was under a lot of emotional and physical stress, and I was out of my routine, and I was traveling, and I had not done that in a very, very long time, and that is exactly what happened the last time this happened. And it just was very, very clear to me that whatever it was that I was doing the month prior really did affect my cycle. And this is the thing that we kind of forget about it, right? We forget that we're women, and we forget that the 3 weeks leading up to this period, or the 4 weeks or whatever, some of those activities and some of those things, they do affect our periods. So some things that I think can be very helpful for you to set for yourself as a goal is, for one, tracking your period, just knowing your body. 2, educating yourself on the infradian rhythm, because you can go into a deep dive on that, and I think you absolutely should by getting that book or watching my other videos. Another thing is to try and have a different view on your period when you're actually bleeding. Instead of hating it, what is something that you can do in that moment to support yourself, even if it's 1 out of your 5 to 7 days? Are you going on a walk when usually you would just sit at home and you would hate your period, you're not in a good mood and you don't want to move and you're whatever? Understanding that doing a simple brisk walk can be so beneficial for your body, and actually honoring your body and doing that, even when you don't feel 100%, that can be something super, super great. Consider the products and the things that you're putting into your body and how that will affect your body. So I mean, obviously, like the tampons that you're using, maybe consider switching to more non-toxic ones. I'll have a link to some of the brands that I like to use. Maybe learning to cook a meal that you know will nourish your body throughout your period. I love to make warming foods. I like to make steak, baked sweet potatoes, soups and stews. I'm just thinking about fall, and it's gonna be like, oh, so freaking good. Maybe limiting your caffeine around your period as well. Another thing that I think that I have gotten so good at is to journal around your period, because there is something very, very spiritual about actually being on your period. And I think that once we stop looking at it like it's just like the worst thing on earth, and you start to connect to your body more, you will start to connect to this deep inner intuition that will come, your higher self, your intuition, whatever you want to call it. And you will find some profound wisdom and answers and knowledge and things that will come from you throughout that time. So I think that's a really good time to start journaling, having some sort of journal practice, and looking inwards, looking at the things that you've done in the past month, things that you want to work on in the future. A lot of reflecting, not a lot of taking action. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on yourself through this time when your body needs to slow down and it needs to be nourished. Just changing the energy towards yourself is literally going to be the biggest blessing you could ever give yourself. Understand it's a journey. Understand that not every single period is going to be perfect. Understand that right now, if you are struggling with even having a regular period, or your hormonal issues and things are going on, take things one step at a time, but it's going to be up to you to commit to yourself. And I think that you're just doing yourself a disservice if you don't. And I understand it's not necessarily our fault that society is built like this, you know, or we haven't been taught a lot about our cycles, or there's so many products that are just not the best for us, this, that. But I think that in order for us to have a better world for women and to have better products, have work weeks where it's more helping us with our flows, things like that, it's gonna be up to women to change that. So that means taking control, educating yourself. No one's gonna do it for you but you, maybe me, maybe us in the comments, maybe professionals, because like I said, I'm not a professional, okay? I'm just a 27-year-old girl who didn't know a lot about her period until only a few years ago, and started my healing journey. And then I was like, oh wait, whoa, what about my physical health as a woman? And then I'm like, yeah, there's so many more things that I can do. So with that being said, I will link everything down below. The link to BetterHelp as well will be down there. Please let me know in the comments what you guys want me to talk about next regarding anything to do with womanhood. So anything else you guys want me to touch on when it comes to cycle syncing. I made a recent video on going from girlhood to womanhood. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. Women's wellness, whatever. I think we're moving into the fall season very soon. And I think naturally for me, and probably for a lot of you guys, we are going inwards, and we're thinking about the way that we treat ourselves, and we want to do better. We want to slow down. We want to nurture ourselves, and that's what we're going to do on this channel. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.